I was at a wedding last summer, a beautiful, high-budget affair in the countryside, the kind of wedding where everything is curated to look effortless, yet you know every flower petal cost a fortune. The air was thick with the scent of expensive lilies and the faint hum of a string quartet. I found myself sitting at a circular table draped in heavy silk with four men. There was a moment during the reception, in that golden hour between the formal speeches and the chaotic energy of the dancing, when the bride's cousin leaned over. She was energetic, clutching a half-empty glass of champagne, her jewelry catching the flickering candlelight. She directed her attention toward a guy named Mark. Mark is an architect, a solid man with kind eyes, silvering hair at the temples, and a steady, reputable career. She asked him with that playful yet piercing tone women sometimes use to bridge the gap between curiosity and judgment. "So Mark, when are you finally going to settle down? When are you going to find a nice girl and stop being so selfish with your time?" The table went quiet. The clinking of silverware seemed to stop. Mark didn't get defensive. He didn't flush with embarrassment or make a self-deprecating joke to ease the tension. He didn't offer a rehearsed excuse. He just looked at his glass, swirled the ice for a second, watching the amber liquid catch the light, and smiled very faintly. It was a smile of recognition, not of apology. He said, "I think I'm okay, actually. I really like my life exactly the way it is." The woman laughed, a sharp, dismissive sound, assuming he was playing hard to get or hiding some deep-seated fear. She started listing the script, all the things he was missing out on. The partnership, the shared future, the growth that supposedly only comes when you tether your soul to another person. But I watched Mark's face. There wasn't any bitterness there. There wasn't even the shadow of loneliness. There was just this profound, settled sense of calculation. It was the look of a seasoned engineer looking at a blueprint with a structural flaw. It was the look of a man who had looked at a modern marriage contract, read every single line of the microscopic fine print, and quietly decided he just wasn't going to sign his life away. And that's what I want to talk about today, because Mark isn't an anomaly. He is a symptom. As a woman in her early 40s, I've spent 2 decades watching the dating landscape shift from the front lines. I've seen the evolution from handwritten notes and phone calls to swipes and ghosting. I've seen my girlfriends' lists of requirements get longer and more rigid, while their willingness to compromise, to actually give, gets shorter. I've seen the way we talk about men in private, in wine-fueled brunches, often as if they are a utility to be upgraded, a project to be finished, or a problem to be solved, rather than human beings with their own fears, dreams, and exhaustion. We're seeing a massive, unprecedented rise in long-term male singlehood. The mainstream media wants to pathologize this. They want to tell you that men are failing to launch, that they're addicted to video games, or that they're simply afraid of commitment, like overgrown children. But if we're being brutally honest, if we're willing to look past the slogans and the man-child narratives, we have to admit something uncomfortable. For a huge number of capable, high-quality, emotionally intelligent men, staying single hasn't been a failure of character. It has become the only rational, logical choice left on the table. And as much as it might sting to hear, we, as women, and the hypercritical culture we've built are the primary reason why the doors are being locked from the inside. This isn't a hate video. This isn't about taking sides. I love the men in my life. I love my brothers, my father, my male friends who would take a bullet for the people they care about. This is a psychological and social postmortem. It's an honest look at why the bridge between the genders is collapsing and why men are no longer interested in crossing it. Let's talk about the math, because men by nature are often trackers of value. Life is, at its core, a series of resource allocations. We invest our time, our money, and our most precious asset, our emotional energy, into things we hope will provide a return. For a long time, the relationship market operated on a fairly predictable, even if difficult, risk-to-reward ratio. In the traditional contract, a man put in a lifetime of labor. He provided protection, he provided financial stability, he offered emotional stoicism, he was the rock upon which the family was built. In return, he received a partner who respected his effort, a family that looked up to him as a hero, and a home that felt like a sanctuary, a place where the armor could finally come off. Most importantly, he received a sense of being needed. That need was his fuel. It's what made a man work 12-hour shifts in a coal mine or a sterile office, the knowledge that his sacrifice bought peace for people he loved. But look at the market today. The price of entry for a man has skyrocketed to levels that are mathematically unsustainable. Today, a man is expected to be a traditional provider, carrying the bulk of the financial stress, but he's simultaneously told that his contribution shouldn't give him any leadership role or even a deciding vote in his own home. He's expected to be the modern man, vulnerable, highly communicative, and sensitive. But the moment he shows too much weakness or breaks under the pressure, he often finds his partner losing attraction to him, viewing his humanity as a turnoff. He's expected to have the six-figure career, the gym-honed physique, the social status of a celebrity, and the emotional intelligence of a licensed therapist. And what is the yield on that investment today? Men look around and see a world where they can work 60 hours a week to provide a lifestyle, only to come home to a partner who is scrolling through social media, looking at the curated lives of the top 0.1% of men on Instagram, and feeling settled or resentful because her real life doesn't look like a filtered Pinterest board. They see a legal system that, despite all our talk of equality, still treats men as an ATM or a visitor in the event of a breakup. They see a world where divorce is not just common, but often socially celebrated and financially incentivized for the person who initiates it. When the risk of losing your home, 50% of your hard-earned assets and, most tragically, regular access to your own children is sitting at 50% or higher. And the daily reward is a partner who views you as a utility or a hurdle rather than a soul. Why would any rational man sign that contract? If you went to a financial advisor and they told you an investment had a 50% chance of total loss and a 10% chance of maybe being okay, you'd walk out of the office and never look back. Men aren't just leaving the office. They've realized the building is on fire and they're opting to stand outside in the quiet. We have to talk about the digital distortion of the female ego. Dating apps haven't just changed how we meet, they've fundamentally altered how we perceive human value. They've turned people into profiles and souls into statistics. I see it with my younger friends all the time. They'll be on a date with a perfectly lovely, capable, kind man. He's stable, he's funny, he's genuinely interested in her. He's the kind of man who would hold her hand through a chemo treatment or a job loss, but the whole time she's checking her phone under the table or in the bathroom. Why? Because the app is whispering to her that there might be someone better just 3 swipes away. Maybe someone 2 inches taller, someone with a more aesthetic career, someone who traveled to a more exotic location last summer, someone who provides a more intense spark. It's like being at a buffet that never ends. You can't enjoy the plate of food in front of you because you're constantly looking at the kitchen door to see what's coming out next. This illusion of choice has made many women treat men like disposable commodities, like a phone you upgrade every 2 years. The result? The good man, the man who would stay, the man who would build, the man whose strength lies in his consistency, becomes invisible. He doesn't have the spark of a narcissist or the edge that the digital world demands. He is a 4K human in a world that only wants 15-second reels, and there is a profound devaluation of men's effort. We've been told for so long that we don't need a man that we've started to treat men as if they are optional accessories, like a handbag or a pair of shoes. We've forgotten how to say thank you for the silent, invisible ways men contribute. The fixing of the car, the guarding of the perimeter, the carrying of the heavy burdens, both literal and metaphorical. We've forgotten that a man's desire to provide is his most sincere form of love. When appreciation is replaced by expectation, and expectation is replaced by entitlement, the man's soul begins to withdraw. He realizes that he is being audited daily, and no matter how much he gives, it's never quite enough to satisfy the hunger created by a social media feed. I remember a conversation I had with a cousin of mine. Let's call him Jason. Jason is the guy everyone wants as a friend. He's the one who helps you move without being asked, the one who fixes your computer at 10 p.m., the one who actually listens when you speak. He's 38, handsome in a rugged, understated way, and he's been single for 5 years. I asked him once, "Jason, you're a catch. You're stable, you're kind. Why are you still alone? Is it the apps?" He laughed, but it was a tired sound. He told me about a date he had gone on a few months prior. He had planned everything. A nice dinner at a small, authentic place he knew she'd like, followed by a walk by the pier where the lights reflect off the water. He was present, he was engaged. But during the entire 2-hour dinner, she never once asked him a single question about himself. Not one. She didn't ask about his work, his passions, his childhood, or his day. She talked exclusively about her job, her spiritual journey, her toxic ex who she was still processing, and her long list of requirements for a future partner. He was an interviewer, not a date. At the end of the night, he dropped her off. She texted him the next day saying, "I didn't really feel a connection. You're a great guy, but you're just a bit quiet." Jason told me, "It wasn't that I was quiet, it was that she didn't leave any room for me to exist in the conversation." I realized that night that I wasn't a person to her. I was just an audience member for her one-woman show. I was a background character in her movie. And I decided right then, I'd rather be alone in my own house where my presence matters to me than feel invisible in someone else's presence. That's a sentiment I'm hearing from the quiet men everywhere. Men would rather be lonely on their own terms, with their dignity intact, than be lonely while standing right next to a partner who doesn't even see the man standing there. This is the part that many women and society at large find terrifying. Men are not just surviving solitude, they are adapting to it. They are thriving in it. For decades, the primary way society kept men tethered to the marriage industrial complex was through the threat of social shame. We called them bachelors with a sneer. We told them they'd be miserable, dirty, and lost without a woman to civilize them. We told them they'd have no legacy, no warmth, and that they'd die alone in a cold apartment. We used the man-child label like a whip to drive them back toward the altar. But in the modern world, for a man with a bit of competence, that's just not true anymore. A man today can have a very high quality of life while being single. He can learn to cook gourmet meals from a world-class chef on YouTube. He can hire a cleaning service. He has a global community of friends, peers, and mentors through the internet. He has his hobbies, his fitness, his peace of mind, and his career. He can travel where he wants, spend his money how he wants, and sleep in a bed that isn't a battlefield. And most importantly, he has found something that is becoming increasingly rare in modern high-conflict relationships: peace. I can't tell you how many men I talk to who say the same thing, almost word for word. When I come home and turn the key in the lock, my house is exactly how I left it. There is no one there to criticize me for how I loaded the dishwasher. There is no one there to start an argument at 11 p.m. because they're having a bad day and need a target. There is no one there to tell me that my hard work isn't enough or that I'm emotionally unavailable because I'm tired from providing. When a man discovers that his 1, being alone, is actually more peaceful, more productive, and more stable than his 2, being in a high conflict or low appreciation relationship, he becomes unbuyable. You can't use shame on a man who has found purpose in his own silence. You can't call him a loser for being single when he's the one who looked at the market and rejected the deal. The old labels, incel, man-child, immature, they are losing their sting. Men are looking at those labels and realizing they are just desperate tools used by a system that is losing its grip on their labor and their loyalty. We have to address the age factor. It's uncomfortable, it's politically incorrect, but it's real. It's the elephant in the room that no one wants to talk about. As a woman in her 40s, I see the end game of this social experiment. I see my peers who spent their 20s and 30s living their best lives, prioritizing experiences, finding themselves, and a rotating door of exciting but non-committal men. They bought into the lie that they could wait until 40 to settle down, and that the good, stable men, the Marks and the Jasons, would still be there, waiting in a warehouse somewhere like a backstock item they could pick up whenever they were ready. But those men aren't there. While those women were finding themselves and swiping past the boring guys, those stable men were being ignored. They were being called nice guys with a condescending pat on the head. So those men did what men do when they aren't wanted. They built their own worlds. They focused on their health, their wealth, their skills, and their inner peace. They built lives that don't need a partner to be complete. Now, when these women are finally ready to settle, they find that the men they finally want are either happily single and unwilling to risk their hard-won peace for a stranger's baggage, or they are looking for a younger partner who hasn't been hardened by 15 years of dating app cynicism and corporate burnout. We told women they could have it all on their own timeline, without any trade-offs or consequences. We lied to them, and in doing so, we alienated the very men who would have been the steady, loving foundation of their lives. I know there will be comments saying, "But I'm not like that. I would love a good man. I would cook for him. I would respect him." And I believe you. I truly do. There are incredible, kind, traditional, and loving women out there who are also lonely. But we have to look at the aggregate. We have to look at the cultural vibe that men are interacting with daily. If you are a man walking into the dating market today, you aren't just dating an individual. You are dating a culture. You are dating the influence of her friends who think all men are trash. You are dating her social media feed that tells her she's a victim of the patriarchy. And you are dating a societal narrative that tells her she is a queen who deserves the world just for existing, while you are a work in progress who has to prove your worth every single day. When enough women buy into that narrative, that a man is a service provider rather than a partner, it poisons the well for everyone. Even the good women are affected because the men have already become so guarded, so cynical, and so exhausted that they don't even try to approach the good ones anymore. They've stopped fishing because the water has become toxic. I see men today finding a new kind of fatherhood or legacy outside of the traditional family structure. They are mentoring younger men, building businesses that solve real problems, creating art, or finding deep fulfillment in their own creative pursuits. They are realizing that family doesn't have to be a nuclear unit that has a 50% chance of exploding and leaving them in financial and emotional ruin. They are choosing a different path. It's a path of self-focus, not a selfish focus, but a protective one. They are guarding their hearts. They are guarding their peace. For the men listening, I want you to know that I see you. I see the work you do in the dark that goes unnoticed. I see the ways you try to be better men, even when the world tells you that masculinity is toxic. I see your silence not as weakness, but as a deliberate choice. And I understand why you've stepped back. It's not giving up to refuse a bad deal. It's wisdom. It's self-respect. For the women listening, it is time for a radical, painful, and deeply honest self-audit. We have to stop the shaming of men and start the appreciating of men. We have to look in the mirror and ask ourselves, what do I actually bring to a man's life that makes his life better, not just more expensive, more complicated, and more stressful? If our only value is our presence or our beauty, we shouldn't be surprised when men decide they prefer the presence of their own thoughts and the beauty of a quiet home. Real love isn't a transaction, but it is a partnership. And a partnership requires two people who both feel like they are winning. Right now, in the modern world, men feel like they are losing. They feel like they are being hunted for their resources and judged for their humanity. And until that changes, until peace, respect, and genuine appreciation become the standard again, the silence in the dating world is only going to get louder. The exodus will continue. We've traded deep, sacrificial, soul-level love for a consumerist model of dating, and now we're upset that the customers are leaving the store and closing the door behind them. I don't say this to be cruel. I say it because I want the bridge to be rebuilt. I want men and women to find each other again. But you can't fix a bridge until you admit it's broken. And right now, the bridge is in pieces, and the men have stopped trying to swim across.